found in the eastern part of Kenya, is the world's largest refugee settlement, Dadaab, with a population of over 400,000 refugees. If the Dadaab refugee complex was a town, it would be Kenya's third most populated town, ahead of Kisumu. Intrigued by how life could be at Dadaab, our producer Joe Muburi reached out to humanitarian organizations within Dadaab to facilitate a trip to document life at the camp.
There is no place to go back in Somalia.
We are involved and engaged with them.
They put the food in the donkey carts, and then the donkey cart takes them to that place.
They shred it and they further sell it for an income generating activity.
Our focus in this is also to look at the young mothers.
They cannot afford at least to go to Garissa.
My dream is to become a contract.
This is Bakari Salim from African Film Center. We are at the Norwegian Refugee Council, Horn of Africa. And this morning we are leaving for Dadaab.
Okay. I'm a bit curious, to just go and see how life is there at Dadaab, how, education is, how life is basically. I'm a bit shocked that the largest refugee settlement in the world is in Kenya, for 400,000 plus. So I'm a bit curious and I want to go there and see how life is.
Working for the Norwegian Refugee Council at the regional office in Nairobi. And the Norwegian Refugee Council is an international organization that works on humanitarian issues. And we help refugees and IDPs on issues of protection and issues of humanitarian assistance. NRC has been working in the regional Horn of Africa and Yemen region since 2009. And we have been working in Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, Djibouti and Yemen.
So we've been most established in Dadaab, where we are present with all 5 areas of NRC's work, with water sanitation, shelter, food security, legal support and education. In Kakuma we're not present yet with all 5 areas of support that NRC provides. We are mostly patient support, shelter support and education support and food security.
I'll be the producer. This is my editor, David Kiama. The back here is Salim Bakari, who is our host. And of course the man himself, Ananda, the cameraman behind the camera. My expectation for today is that we are going to have, of course, a safe journey. Though we are a bit worried because insecurity, the northern part of Kenya has been quite high.
It's going to be a journey worth us going there because it's the first time for some of us. And we hope everything goes well and yeah, you'll see what goes on. We just arrived at Mwingi town, me and the crew. We're en route to Garissa and then Dadaab. We're here for breakfast and then the journey continues. See ya! So after a 5 hours drive from Nairobi, we are here at Garissa town, but we had to change vehicles at Ukasi, and the driver who brought us from Nairobi went back and we were picked up by another driver who brought us here. The driver says that it's about 2 hours drive from Garissa town to Dadaab, and in case it rains, we might not reach Dadaab tonight. At this point in Garissa town is where the tarmac ends. Behind me is where the tarmac ends, and we are here purposely because we're waiting for police escort to Dadaab because of security issues. And as you all know, there has been attacks by the Al-Shabaab, and therefore we need security there. We arrived safely at the famous Dadaab refugee settlement at around 6:30 p.m. Within Garissa County features the world's largest open-air refugee camp. Established in 1991 to host around 90,000 people, Dadaab is now estimated to be home to nearly 500,000 people. It covers a total area of 50 square kilometers and consists of 5 camps within 18-kilometer radius of Dadaab town, namely Ifo, Ifo2, Dagahale, Hagadera and Cambios. The camps host refugees mainly from Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, Eritrea, Uganda and Burundi, driven by war, fear of persecution and in search of a better living. UNHCR and other implementing partners provide basic humanitarian services to the refugees, such as health, water, shelter, security and food. Our first visit was at Hagadera and Cambios camps, where NRC has been selected by UNHCR and World Food Programme to implement food security and livelihood programs within the 2 camps.
We have 2 projects in 2 different camps, for example Hagadera and Cambios. Currently we are in Hagadera, but we will be proceeding to Cambios. It has been established and opened for food distribution on June last year. It's a very interesting site and a growing one as well. We serve a population of 19,600 beneficiaries in 3 days. People come into a different time with different farm sizes. The site has the staffing. There is a 1 project officer and 1 distribution coordinator and 3 project assistants from NRC and 70 community workers. We call them incentive staff, who are helping us to do the distribution and doing the other, hardware components in the project in terms of scooping, weighing, and doing the clerical work. Also, we have community leadership and manning the distribution together with us, who are called food advisory committees. Usually in this project, and it starts, it has other stakeholders who are doing very important and work together with NRC, including UNHCR, WFP, and DRA, who are doing the camp management. Usually UNHCR give us the food manifest, the registration, the population that we are supposed to feed for that particular time and in any given refugee camp. For instance, our camps here in Cambios and Hagadera.
Cambios has 6 sections. A section consists of about 10 blocks. UNHCR gives the food manifest, which has the registration details of every household eligible to receive food rations at the camp.
Here you are seeing this is one of the beneficiaries and who is sick, and because of the biometric exercise, she is supposed to come and thumbprint in order for her to have access to her food. And usually when they are heavy or pregnant, or when they are sick and maybe unable to come to collect the food, the SOB, according to the standard operating procedures, they are allowed to have an alternate food collector. Not all the population who are coming to this place and the beneficiaries can the distribution accommodate. When they come from the entrance, this is where they wait and sit. It has a shed. This week all accommodates them for some time. When the others who are ahead of them goes to the biometric hall, then these ones will also be released to go to the biometric place.
Usually, the beneficiaries queue according to their gender, male and female separately, as dictated by the Somali tradition.
They queue along the rappel, male on one side and females on the other side.
UNHCR has implemented a biometric system to assist in distribution of food within the camp. With the biometric system, each household has a representative whose biometric details are stored on the database and is required to swipe their thumb on the fingerprint reader in order to access food rations for their households. Each beneficiary has a card which is given to a clerk at the food distribution point. The clerk checks whether the card is valid, and then the beneficiary proceeds to swipe their finger on the card reader. If the records match, the clerk punches the card and gives the beneficiary a token.
Here is the other place whereby we have one of our clerks. What she is ensuring that we don't allow anybody to move into this place without a token and showing us the embossed card. Now we have 3 rappels here you are seeing. Each rappel is serving different people. For example, this one today we are serving family size 7, Here we are serving 6 and 2, and there we are serving 6 only. So we go to family size 7.
Food rations are given by monthly, at the beginning of the month and at the middle.
Here what we have is that our clerk, when the card is embossed and it has the token, beneficiaries come through the queue. When they come to the queue, they present their card. And he has a manifest. Now this card, he checks the card number from the manifest. It's a serialized and the number is in this place. The card is ticked from this place, and again it is registered in this register book. It's to ensure that this person has been marked and also is registered in this place before he or she is allowed to collect food.
The scooping clerks scoops various cereals and cooking oil according to the rations stipulated by UNHCR. In order to ensure that the beneficiaries get their right entitlement, there is a weighing scale at the end of the food shed that weighs the food rations and adjusts them accordingly.
It's not only NRC managing in this place, but they are community representative. Earlier I talked about FAC Food Advisory Committees. He's here, both of them, male and female, she's here and he's here. They are ensuring that the beneficiaries to get their right entitlement.
At the end of it, each beneficiary should receive 560 grams of food with 2,110 kilocalories per day. Yeah.
Children under 2 years receive a special supplement pack called the CSP++.
There is this supplementary feeding we normally give them. That is the CSP++. It is under 2. After we check everything, the beneficiary will leave the corridor.
The biometric system is a revolutionary technology that has helped streamline the distribution of food within the camps. It has reduced instances of forgery where households used to take more than one food ration. However, some of the refugees are complaining that the biometric system ties them to the camp, thereby losing opportunities to earn money in areas such as Garissa, since they have to be physically present to swipe their fingers every 2 weeks in order to get their food rations. There are also members of the refugee community known as incentive staff who are employed by the agencies in Dadaab. We met with Sadiq, one of the incentive staff at Hagadera, and he shares his experience.
I came here while I'm 4 years old. I settled here. I'm here for the last 23 years. Firstly, I'm called Sadiq, and my location in Somalia was Kismayo. All the way from the troubles that I have passed while I was on the journey. Some of them I can remember, some of them I can't remember. I can only remember some small issues that when I was on the journey, a lot of people were just fleeing. Maybe vehicles were very less. There was not enough trucks. All the way from the road, there was very difficulties. You could see a lot of children surviving, crying. And thanks to Almighty Allah, I come to Hagadera. I settled in Block D, especially Block D2. I have completed my primary and secondary education here in Hagadera. Thanks to Almighty Allah, now I'm almost 23, 25. I've married, I have 3 wives, and now Alhamdulillah I have almost 7 kids. I'm just surviving in the camp as a refugee. And thanks to Almighty Allah, after I finish my O level, I look for jobs in the NGOs. Hopefully, my first time I've started working was care for almost 7 years. After that, care has went to other camps, and NRC has come and joined here in this camp. And I'm currently working with the NRC as a distribution clerk.
Water sanitation and hygiene WASH is one of the important programs being implemented by agencies within the camps. We had the opportunity of visiting Borehole 8 at Hagadera, a borehole managed by NRC.
This Borehole 8 is run entirely on solar, but we have a standby generator which can be put into use in the event that the solar system fails. So with this innovation at Borehole 8, NRC being the agency which is undertaking a water program in Hagadera, we are able to save good amount of fuel, which is saved from the generator which are used in the other boreholes in the camp. The amount of money in USD that we have been able to save is around 12,500 USD from the fuel that has been saved. This borehole is able to supplement another borehole that is able to produce around 300 cubic meters of water per day in the camp. Water supply in Hagadera is relatively good, with every individual receiving about 24 liters per person per day, which is way above the minimum standards as based on the Sphere handbook of 15 liters per person per day.
This water, before it's actually delivered to the tank, it's actually chlorinated, so that if there's pathogens in the water, they can be killed before it gets to the beneficiary.
NRC conducts hygiene promotion within the camps through the use of hygiene billboards and as well as conducting hygiene promotion campaigns.
The 5 critical times that we encourage people to clean their hands is when after visiting the toilet, we tell them to wash their hands the critical way, that's critical hand washing. Then before they have their food, we tell them to wash their hands, critical time. Then the 3rd time before preparing food or handling any food, especially if they are mothers. And then the 4th time after cleaning the baby's bottom or cleaning the children, because we all appreciate that, like you've seen right now, we have so many children in our population and they are eager, and if we don't make sure that we've cleaned their hands properly, we may not avoid any contamination.
At the water points, refugees are taught how to do jerrycan cleaning as well as hand washing. Solid waste is a menace not only in Dadaab but in the whole of Kenya as well. We visited a garbage collection area at Hagadera camp to witness how solid waste is managed within the camps.
I'm John Masharia, the wash officer, sanitation, working for Norwegian Refugee Council in Hagadera. Right now we are at one of the waste collection points within the camp, and here you can see we have the tractor which is pulling a hydraulic skip lift. We have the lifting trailer behind, which is already connected to one of the full skips. We are going to demonstrate how the whole operation is done.
Once the skip is full, a hydraulic skip lifting machine operated by NRC loads the skip onto a tractor which disposes the waste at a landfill.
Welcome to B3. B3 is among the garbage collection area. It's served by one skip, as you may see behind me. It serves areas around B, all the areas around B, and it's mainly a collection pit. Solid waste in NRC is taken up in 3 stages. The first stage is the responsibility of the household, in this case the beneficiaries, who are responsible for their own garbage collection, and they collect from the household and they bring it to the nearest skip. As you may notice, it's really windy. The community has taken the initiative of banning the garbage, especially the paper, the plastic paper, which is a menace everywhere, not just in Dadaab but also countrywide. And we try to make sure that we eliminate the polythene, but the rest of the garbage is not sorted. All of it is taken to the landfill, where the actual sorting is done, where the biodegradable ones are disposed and compacted at the landfill level, and the non-biodegradable ones are disposed. They are given to the self-help group. That it's a livelihoods project which supports the community by empowering them. The community collects the solid waste in terms of the jerry cans, the papers. They go and process it, they shred it, and they further sell it for an income generating activity.
Solid waste management is done with the support of wash committees composed of members from the refugee community. The refugee community is sensitized on the use of latrines. Latrines have been put up within every block.
This is a pilot latrine. We have 2 holes here. There's one which we have closed and there's one which is opened. So the one we have closed, when this one is full, we come and we exhaust it, we take it to the field for recycling, and then we are going to open here. When we open this one is ready, they can use it. And by the time they are using this, there's a partition here dividing this to this, so they can use even this toilet as a bathroom. So this one is preventing water not to go to this one.
When the refugees come to the camp, they are given tents that should last them for 6 months. The tent shelters are temporary, and when it rains, the refugees undergo untold suffering. With some refugees having stayed for over 2 decades, in 2011, the agencies felt the need to construct more permanent and dignified shelters.
In implementing this shelter, first of all, we have to select the beneficiaries from the leaders. In the camps here, we have the block leaders and section leaders. We ask them to give us the vulnerable cases. We deal with the vulnerable cases in the community, which they give to us using our incentive workers that we have in the field. After that, the list comes to NRC, and then we send it, we compile it and send it to UNHCR for verification purposes. In UNHCR, during the verification, they identify the household number, the name of a person, the family size, and also the household number.
The first shelter design was the mud brick shelter. We visited a shelter in Dagahali camp.
The shelter that is, the design that's before us is a mud brick, and this is a beneficiary who benefited from NRC in 2011. We started with these designs in 2008, August, and at least beneficiaries gave them a green bill. But then, since the government stopped it, we had no alternative but to go to ISSP, the interlocking stabilized soil bricks.
The second design that was implemented was the interlocking stabilized soil bricks, but the design was discontinued after consultations with the Kenyan government.
This design, it was to make the beneficiary feel that they have some permanent privacy, their house, but then the government stopped because it was looking some more permanent.
After the Kenyan government halted the ISSB shelter construction in August 2012, another design called the T shelter was introduced in the year 2013.
In construction of this shelter, we use our own trained cooperatives, whom we have trained for the last 5 to 6 years, NRC, for the roofing and also for the construction of the shelters. After the beneficiary comes to our site with the help of the incentive workers and the block leader to seek for the materials. The beneficiary carries the materials from our compounds to this place.
There seems to be a bit more consensus on the T shelters between the government and the agencies, although not a lot of shelter construction is going on at the moment, awaiting communication from the Kenyan government, which has the final say on the matter.
This house takes 1.5 a day to be completed, so it doesn't take more time for it to get completed.
The refugee community is aspirational. They harbor dreams and hope for a better future. One day, they hope to return to their country of origin and participate in nation-building activities. Most of their dreams might not be achieved unless they access education.
Basically, what EU is doing is supporting the Somali population in Kenya as refugees, so that by the time they go back, they have the necessary skills and knowledge to be able to participate in the development of the country once the peace is realized in that country. And of course, we are all aware that globally the initiative that is going on in Somalia to bring back normalcy in that country. So this is part of that global participation that the EU is taking lead. The grant is managed by or implemented by 5 consortium. We have NRC, which is one of the consortium. We have LWF, we have WTK, which is Window Trust, and then AFSI. And Save the Children is the lead agency, as well as also implementing some specific result areas.
The accelerated learning program implemented by NRC under the third consortium is addressing this.
We have also started within the education program our ALP for pupils who are not able to access the primary school.
Accelerated learning program is aimed at increasing access to basic education for children who for one reason or the other dropped out of school, who have never had an education, and therefore it helps them to catch up with an age-appropriate education. It targets children between 10 to 17 years who may have already passed the primary entry age to education. For instance, a child at 10 years cannot join primary school and start from primary 1. With the accelerated learning program, they go through a condensed curriculum and be able to get accelerated and go back to formal school at an age-appropriate time. For instance, in the accelerated learning program, someone who is in level 1 can go through level 1, which is condensed from grade 1 to grade 4, instead of starting from P1, P2, P3, and 4. Once they go through that condensed curriculum, they are assessed and they can transit back to the formal primary school at an appropriate age.
Currently we have 3 levels. Level 1 composed of class 1 to 4, level 2 class 5 to 6, and level 3 class 7, 8.
This is a recognized form of education by the Kenyan government, and it's one way of ensuring that all children have access to education.
This curriculum gives the provision of all the subjects that are taught in the primary schools. So we teach them English, we teach them science, social studies, math, Kiswahili, and religious education.
Children are expected to transit to formal schools that are run by other primary implementing partners. We do work very closely with the primary implementing partners that host some of the ALP centers. For instance, if you go to Agadera, where we have 2 ALP centers, they are hosted within the primary schools that are supported, that are run by partners like Lutheran World Federation, the LWF. So with this synergy that we work with other partners, the transition of the children to the formal school is made easier. But we do also share a number of resources. If you're hosted within the primary school, then it's easy that the teachers can coordinate and share some supplementary reading materials and all that. The key challenge is the capacity of the teachers to be able to address the challenges of accelerated learning program. And the fact that also generally there are not so many trained teachers. So ALP being a unique package, you have children of multiple age, different educational backgrounds, and their curriculum is condensed. You need teachers that are really trained and can be able to handle this complex nature of children. Of course, with supplementary funding from NORAD, we've been able to offer some basic training for the teachers. But this is not enough because they need to be trained on and off, and so that they are able to be grounded on this curriculum. We do work closely with the government institutions like the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development that produces most of the reference materials and the curriculum. And at the Dadaab level, we work closely with the Education Office to make sure that we are compliant with the policy, but also to be able to address any other quality related issues.
I am in level 3. So before ALB are not started, I was on the way. I was not learning in school. When ALB was started, I joined this school. If God says, I want to do KCB, and also I like to go secondary school, also university. The important I learn this school, I learn these subjects in every day. Also, I thank my teachers.
I'm learning ALB 2 years. Right now I am level 3, and we inform the other people to join us. As this one, the other primary take 8 years for learning. This one is 6 years. So we are enjoying this level 3 right now, and we are candidate.
A huge number of youthful refugees, as well as members of the host communities at Dadaab, have very little formal education. This could mean that they cannot access employment opportunities. To mitigate this, NRC through the SAD Consortium has initiated a vocational training program called Youth Educational Park.
It's a package that has a vocational skills training, it has a life skills training, and basic computer literacy and numeracy. So this package ensures that when youth complete, they're able to have self-reliance, and they're able to have an improved livelihood status and self-reliance.
The centers at Hagadera, Ifo and Dagahali mainly cater for the refugee community, while the Dadaab YEP Center caters for the host communities.
The skills that we have on offer include hairdressing and beauty therapy. We have tailoring and dressmaking. We have electrical wireman, masonry and plumbing, and welding and fabrication as the long skills that take a year.
I'm doing the masonry and plumbing and stone dressing. By now we are doing the practical stone dressing as well as constructing with the house. Like this house you can see here, we have the house constructed by learners. They put even the roofs, they put even the showers, even the towels, they do the tiling. Then from there they do the plastering.
Our focus in this is also to look at the young mothers, because we know that, for instance, in the community that we are working with, the female participation in education is very low. Therefore, and we try to bring in as many female and young mothers on board as possible. And one of the innovative ways to make sure that we capture many young mothers is we provide some childcare services in the youth education park centers, so that as the young mothers are attending their trainings, someone is taking care of their children, so that at break time they can come and feed and watch over the children.
First term, across all the centers we have academics. By academics I mean literacy skills, numeracy skills, life skill, and computer literacy skills. But come to second term, we change, we reverse, so that we have the trade skill, the vocational skill in the morning, because we require more time to do the practicals and prepare them adequately for the exam. That is second and third term. After that, they sit for the national exam, NITA, National Industrial Training Association exam. That is a national exam that is recognized both in Kenya and internationally. And from there they're certified. If they wish to continue with the training, they can continue to another level.
I'm from Western Kenya. I came here this year, 2014 January, to join this institution YEP to pursue my course in masonry. One thing I like about it is that the course is highly marketable. There's no hustling. You can go out there and you make yourself self-employed. You start working on yourself. You don't need to wait for the government to employ you. The course has been actually well. The teachers are hardworking, and we are happy with the course.
I have a very qualified and professional staff, both from the country, that's who are Kenyans, and others who are refugees. I have 8 Kenyans, 2 are male, 2 are female, and 6 are male. So 6 male and 2 female. They are 8 in number. I also have local teachers that are from the refugees. We call them incentive teachers. These teachers are also qualified. After they go through the O-level, they usually go to college after they are sponsored, and then they get employment.
My name is Abdirazak Abdabshir, teacher in Yeb, Degahle Yeb. I normally teach numeracy.
The Yeb Center also caters for people with disabilities.
I have a deaf girl. There used to be 2. One left, went to high school in a special school. But the one I have, I use sign language in class. When I want to ask her good morning, I just point myself. I do like this, and she responds. She's like this. If I want her to do something, I just cut for her, and then I tell her how to stitch. And then when I want her to stand up, I say, stand up. And when I say thank you, you're not supposed to clap for her, you're supposed to use this.
Our newest and our youngest course is the journalism skill. And out of the as a result of the previous assessment, journalism came out as one of the key skills that is needed across. And it's one of the youngest skills we have, but it's also growing very fast because as we speak right now, the journalism class is producing a magazine, which is it's an exciting thing because it's already something they're showing that this is what we can do.
After they finish 1-year program, we move them to IGA, income generating activities, where we give them startup kits for their respective skills, and then we set them to the market. When they get to the market, they set their small businesses. We monitor the businesses for at least 6 months, and when we are satisfied that they can fend for themselves, they can stand for themselves, and they can compete favorably in the market, and then we now initiate them and leave them to continue soldiering on with the market as we come back to pick other graduates who shall have also completed their skill.
Muhammad Hassan Amin is one of the YEP graduate who was given a generator as part of the startup kit. Today, he runs a thriving business supplying residents of Dadaab town with power.
When we finished our studies, NRC gave us some startup kits with my group. Then we have started working as electronic writers. Then, well, after a year, we have transferred as electrical supplies to do with this business right now we are in. We supply around 40 business sites and around 25 houses from 8 in the morning up to 12 noon, and from 5 in the afternoon up to 10:30 evening.
Looking at one of the things that I would call a key achievement for us is to be able to link our program to the countries of origin. Recently we conducted an assessment cross-border looking at the skills that we offer in Dadaab and the relevance to the countries of origin that the refugee community comes from, so that when they go back home they are still relevant. These skills remain relevant to them. Some of the youth have gone back to Somalia with these certificates, and some of them have managed to be able to teach in those TVET institutions back in their home countries. Vocational skills training is an expensive course. It requires quite an amount of resources because the practical is practical. So it requires us to have adequate training, practical materials and workshops. And so we do have challenges with funding.
The education program is supported by a robust ICT system.
Now teachers are able to embrace technology in education. We have exchange of learning and teaching materials, either on our file servers or via emails or Skype. The refugee community, through internet access in the YEP centers, have also been able to reunite with their families either back in Somalia or those ones who've gone for resettlement in various countries in the world. We'll soon be having tablets for the students across the 4 YEP centers in the next few weeks, so they'll be able to access our wireless networks, and for convenience purposes they can always move around with their tablets and share experiences. We will upload content on the tablets. The teachers will be able to share lesson notes with the students, and the students can be able to read at their convenient time.
We're talking to different partners for the content. The content will mainly rely on the Kenyan curriculum, so we will also talk to the Ministry of Education in Kenya to leverage the curriculum that they are digitalizing, so that the content that is available, so what other children are learning at school in Kenya, we're going to try and bring that onto tablets and computers. And we're talking to other partners such as World Reader, for example, who have a whole list of books available, to Wikipedia and other content providers.
Particularly with NRC, we're looking at supporting the YEP centers, so the Youth Educational PAC centers, to really ensure that the communities here are able to benefit from ICTs and that they can use these tools, whether it's the computer lab or also the tablets, to increase their learning objectives. So related to this specific vocational traits, so whether it be carpentry or electronics, also learning the computers themselves, so how to use a range of different computer programs. They're basically introduced to different forms of technology that they can use throughout these programs.
I'd like to say that NRC, UNHCR and the associated agencies, they're doing quite a great job, and really just call for support from each and every one of us to ensure that this noble cause, succeeds, so that we can be able to transform the way, the educational content is being delivered to our children, not just at the moment, but even in future.
The refugees at Dadaab have been hosted by the Somali community in Garissa for over 23 years.
There was a time where there were 500,000 people here, and today we talk about 350,000 or more people still here, looking for that bright future as solution to their problems.
Their relationship has been cordial, with the communities living peacefully side by side.
The Norwegian Refugee Council, even though we're supporting the refugees, we always make sure that we also support the host community. It's very important for us to make sure that both in Dadaab and in Kakuma we are providing services to the people around the camps to make sure that they are also supported in their basic needs.
And they have gained a lot in terms of education, in terms of peaceful coexistence among themselves and with the host community, and they have also hopes to go back to their country once it is peaceful.
The agencies also work closely with the host community, involving them in their decisions.
In our budgeting, we managed to provide we drilled 2 boreholes for the host community in Dadaab and Fafi as well. We have also excavated water pans for the people of Fafi. Although these may not be having a very big impact on the community, but at least is the much we can afford with the limited funding opportunity available. The Dadaab YEP Center, which is a very big center with a population of more than 300 learners, is meant to support the host community youth in order to gain the skills that we also give in our refugee context. And this helps the refugee and the host community to interact. In other areas where the host community mainly gets advantage is issues of procurement of materials. This is a very big program with our wash and shelter program, and the host community gets opportunity in the supplying materials to our program. And also in areas where there is construction of facilities, like our schools in our YEP centers, accommodation facilities in our operation. This is an area where probably we target the host community in getting access to benefiting from the program.
The host community is also benefiting from the schools and health facilities set up by the agencies. Despite all the successes, there are challenges that need to be addressed, one of them being the issue of environmental degradation. Lots of shrubs have been cleared to offer settlement to the refugees, and water resources are being used every day.
You can imagine 600,000 people who have got to draw water from the aquifer, which is underground, substantial amount of water, and the rate of discharge is actually more than the rate of recharge is from the so-called Merte aquifer, which is in the Ethiopian highlands. To that extent, yes.
The strategies for conserving the environment in Dadaab need to be formulated. Earlier this year, UNHCR, the Kenyan and Somali governments signed an agreement to begin voluntary repatriation of refugees to Somalia.
It is not a forced return, and this is something that we want to make it very clear as partner of UNHCR involved in the current repatriation, the voluntary return exercise, that it is a voluntary, it is the beneficiary to make the right choice, and no one is being forced out of the camp to return back home, but rather it should be an informed decision of the beneficiary looking at the context of Somalia, and they make that decision to go back home.
Agencies such as NRC have also set up a help desk on the Somali border to welcome and assist the returning refugees to settle down comfortably. There are a lot of innovations in Dadaab that can be adopted by the Kenyan government. For instance, the planning system of the camps into sections and blocks can be adopted in mapping our informal settlement. The ISSB shelters built through cooperatives could also be used in slum upgrading and in rural areas. The YEP program could also be adopted by vocational institutions like the Village Polytechnic. The biometric system of food distribution could also be adopted in relief food distribution activities in the country.
There is a misconception of refugees in the Kenyan context at the moment in terms of the role refugees can play and how they are perceived. But one thing I will want to make very clear is that the refugees have a right to asylum, and Kenya has provided them that right. And it's important that we all understand that refugees contribute as well, just like other human beings, in the development of many other sectors. If you look at the vibrant market in Hagadera, for example, the greater population in the camp is the refugees, and host communities and refugees are able to interact and get livelihood opportunities as well. They also take part in peace initiatives within the camp, and they have been greatly involved in ensuring that there is security in the camp, and this is a role that they play a lot, helping humanitarian agencies. They have camp leadership that supports our interventions in the camp as well. And therefore is my plea to all that we should see refugees as individuals who have potentials, individuals who can impact the economic status of this country as well.
When refugees go and take an asylum or take a protection in some other country than others, that's because somewhere they felt not protected. And when a country receives those type of people, it also very affirming, assuring to that people.
After our 1 week stay at Dadaab, we could not help but marvel at what the agencies have done to improve the living standards of the refugees.
We did witness that transformation. You could see from the way they walked, the way they worked at the YEP centers, from their facial expression, that their lives have been transformed.